Neha, over to you to officially start the meeting. Uh, just before we start, once again, a very, very warm welcome to both our distinguished speakers. It's an absolute honor and privilege for us to be hosting this webinar and to be talking on this very exciting topic.
Yeah.
Okay. Any update?
ওনারা শুনতে পাচ্ছেন কি জয়ন্ত স্যার?
শোনা যাচ্ছে না। I can't hear.
No, Pooja, I'm just trying to fast track as this.
শোনা যাচ্ছে না তো? জয়ন্ত স্যারেরা শুনতে পাচ্ছেন কি?
Neha, you're on mute. Are you able to hear us?
দেখলাম এমন কি শোনা যাচ্ছে না, আমরা শুনতে পাচ্ছি।
Go ahead.
আমরা শুনতে পাচ্ছিলাম না।
Mikla, your voice was cracking. I don't know if it is for everyone or even I couldn't hear you. So maybe you can just.
I think I'm pretty audible to everyone. I think I'm audible.
Okay. I
You
hope.
can go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. A very good morning, everyone. GHRDC welcomes you to today's webinar titled Hotel Management and Hospitality Education in India, Evolving Trends and Future Pathways. Thank you, everyone, for taking our time and joining in with us today. We are very delighted to have with us experts from industry and academia for this discussion today. On behalf of GHRDC team, I welcome our expert panel members. GHRDC, as many of you would be aware, is a 27 years old education research firm dedicatedly working in the education sector in the area of ranking, training, mentoring, and research with the very sole aim of working on upgrading the quality of education in various sectors and benchmarking the best of the educational institutions in our country. The hotel management industry is continuously evolving to meet the changing demands of travelers, technological advancements, and shifting market dynamics. With the emerging new trends, the hotel management education is also moving towards embracing innovation and sustainability. Today's webinar discussion is dedicated to discuss some of these dynamic changes, trends, and subsequent unique career paths emerging in the current times. We will now be inviting our distinguished speakers to talk about this exciting topic. Also, I would request our wonderful attendees as well as viewers, if you have any questions you want to address to our guest speakers, you can type in those questions in the chat box which is given along. You can also mention the name of the speaker you want to address your questions. Now, I would like to introduce our eminent speakers for today. We have with us Dr. R.P. Banerjee, an MBA and PhD in management from the University of Calcutta. Dr. R.P. Banerjee has served the industry for over a decade. He has taught the MBA students at premier B schools in India, including IIM Kolkata, University of Calcutta, IISWBM, IFIM Bangalore, and many other institutes in India. He is a leading professor of management, having lectured at leading Indian, European, and American university, has been a pioneer in establishing ethics and values in management academics and bringing into the focus of the scholars and practitioners of management the Vedic spiritual thoughts for corporate functioning. His latest concept of mind engineering in managing stress, art, and the science of management and the Vedic economy are clear pathfinders for the future of management and society. He believes in a value-based corporate and organizational practice for the world. With the very rich experience of industry and academia for over 35 years, including full-time teaching at IIM Kolkata, Dr. Banerjee perfectly harmonizes academic brilliance with industry expertise. Basically a professor of finance and ethics, he has taught almost all the areas of management, both in the context of transnational corporations and domestic organizations. As an international educationist, Professor R.P. Banerjee has been focusing on the Indian spiritual values and spreading the fundamental message of Vedic civilization. He has focused on certain noble values like integrity, sincerity, honesty, truthfulness, cooperation, sacrifice, etc., for manpower management and managing enterprises in the business, social, and global context. Currently, Dr. R.P. Banerjee is the chairman and director of ELM Kolkata, one of the leading business schools dedicatedly working towards quality education in India, and offers various courses such as MBA, BBA, BCA, Hotel and Hospitality Management Education, amongst many others. He is a distinguished educationalist, researcher, mentor, and leader, having many awards to his credit. To name a few: Bengal British Icon Award, Educationalist of the Year, Education Leadership Award, the Asia's Greatest Leader Award, Thought Leader Award, and many others. We very warmly welcome you, sir. We
Thank
have
you.
with us Mr. Karan Kapoor, an MBA graduate in hospitality management from the prestigious ESSEC Business School, France, and a graduate in hotel management from the University of Huddersfield, England. Mr. Kapoor is a seasoned and experienced hotel and hospitality senior professional currently working as an associate director of development at the Postcard Hotel. He has to his credit of being associated with multiple prestigious organizations, including Mahindra Group, IHM Aurangabad, Hotel Evet, as well as the Jumeirah Group of Hotels and Resorts, UAE. With a very rich experience of more than a decade, Mr. Kapoor has been a recipient of several accolades and awards, including Special Recognition Award and Manager of the Month by Marriott International, as well as other awards from Times Food Group. He's a multi-skilled, adaptable, and result-oriented professional who specializes in hotel development and strategic analysis. We very warmly welcome you, sir. And we have Mekhla Sinha, the Executive Director of GHRDC, who will be acting as a moderator for the discussion today. With this, I would request Mekhla to now take over and initiate the panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Neha. Once again, a very, very warm welcome to both our speakers. I was personally very, very excited for today's discussion because of a very interesting topic that we're taking up. And I felt that both of you, coming from a very rich, diverse background, have a lot to offer in terms of your insights, inputs, and various things that you can guide students and institutions also on today. So I will quickly dive into our very first question, and that will be to Karan. Karan, again, I will, just before the webinar started, we were talking about, how skills are important, but then you spoke about how vision is also very, very important along with skills. And we talk about skills, but we don't talk enough about vision. And that is something which is very important to be spoken more about in hotel management education for students. So my question, the first question that we get asked this question millions of times, and students do not tire from asking this question simply because the inputs that they get from every speaker is very, very diverse, very different and unique. We would like to understand from you, according to you, as a hotel management graduate who's currently doing, their education or aspiring to become a hotel management professional, what skill sets do you think are absolutely the most important that they should be working on? And I would also like to, request you to throw some light on the vision aspect that you were talking about earlier. So over to you, Karan.
Thank you so much.
Karan, your voice is not very properly audible.
Just let me check. Is it better now?
Yes, fine now.
Is it better now? Okay.
Okay.
So, thank you so much to the panel and the educational institution over here and GHRDC. I am deeply honored and I'm grateful to my alma mater as well as my academicians, my professors, my mentors who have sort of helped me reach where I am today. I think in life we are all a sum of all the people who we meet, who we work with, who we learn from to reach where we are. And to begin with, I think the first and most important aspect which any individual has to sort of come together and understand is that what is your vision? So as an individual, so people talk about what is the vision of the company, but what is your vision at an individual level? So who are you as a person, and where do you want to be? So once you've defined that, I think then it becomes simpler for you to break it down into several steps or several mini goals to be able to achieve that. So I will just share from my personal journey. I was originally not a hotel management aspirant. Let me be very clear about that. I come from a family of scientists and engineers and doctors, and I was aspiring to be the same. And I appeared for IIT and DC. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it, and but at that point in time, what struck me was that there was a lot of conversation going about how tourism and hospitality is going to come up as an industry, and it will flourish. And this is a new field, a new discipline. And for some reason, I think I had a risk appetite right from the young age. So I said, okay, let's go for it. And I appeared for, I think, group discussions and interviews for several institutions and zeroed on IHM Aurangabad. And, I spoke with Dr. Jairam, who was the principal back then, and the likes of other faculty members, including Dr. Anand Iyengar and Dr. Biswas, who used to teach at IIM Rohtak. So we had a great this thing, and I jumped into hotel management. And I mean, when you come from a family where you have doctors and engineers, dining out and traveling is not a priority. So you really don't know where I mean, when I landed in hotels, I was in a very different world. So, I mean, apart from the work culture being very, very different, I think the overall culture was also very different. But the first thing which I had to learn and to sort of take things forward in my stride was to adapt and adapt fast. So that was one. And right in the first year, our former principal, introduced us to this idea. So it's not my idea. It is something which was part of our culture, and a lot of things which I'm going to talk about, will reflect the kind of learning culture which exists at IHM Aurangabad. So the first thing which our principal made us do was to create a vision board. And he asked every individual student to write down their vision and goals and jot it down and keep it with you. So the whole idea was that you keep this vision with you for the next 4 years and then evaluate again where do you want to be, what do you want to do. So I think that became that sort of became a ritual personally with me. I'm not sure about everyone else, but at least for me, it became a ritual, and I stuck to that. So my first, vision at that point in time was that I was particularly interested in food and beverage. So I was very clear from year one that, if I want to get into hotels and if I'm getting into a job, I'm going to get into food and beverage because this is the heart of the hotel. You have amazing food and all whatnot, and you meet interesting people. So that's how, the first 4 years panned out, and I sort of started planning accordingly. And I got through the management training program with Marriott International, and I worked in Mumbai and Goa. Went on to become an assistant manager, handling catering operations as well as restaurant operations for the hotel. And thereafter, at that point in time, I again looked back and I said that, where am I going next? What am I going to do? Where do I see 10 years down the line? And there I recognized that hotel development is an up and coming discipline. And this is something which is very strategic, and I would want to be in this field. So back in 2013-14 is when I realized that, this is what I want to do. And food and beverage is something which I love. Okay, so there are things you will be passionate about, but then there are things where which can really drive you. So I realized that hotel development is something which is very analytical, very interesting, and deal making is something which, was very attractive. So I then decided that, okay, you know what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to get there? And I made an entire plan out of it and went on about it. So I went for my MBA, and I worked with Jumeirah Group. we were part of the revenue cluster team where we were responsible, the whole team was responsible for Burj Al Arab, Jumeirah Beach Hotel, and Madinat Jumeirah. So there, I mean, evolving from operations, getting into revenue management was a stepping stone because I could see firsthand, I could work firsthand and realized how, the revenue strategy works. And from there onwards, I got into consulting and then eventually into development, hotel development. So I think the first drive home point for everyone is to come together, put your thoughts down and say, what is going to be your vision? What is your vision? Speaking of key skills and competencies, I feel the first and foremost competency which everyone should work on is human competencies. And when I say human competencies, it's not just soft skills. I think that is imperative in hotel management as a discipline. When I speak of human competencies, I speak of emotional intelligence. So whether you are working as a team member or as a leader, you have to develop that ability to connect with your team members and your leaders. I think a lot of times what happens is that there is a lot of dissonance where leaders are not able to understand their team members and team members are not able to understand why leaders are sending them in a particular direction. So that's where connection, bonding is very important, and emotional intelligence has to be on both the sides. See, we have to realize, the leaders have to realize that the youngsters which are entering the workforce right now do not have the same temperament, do not have the same attitude, and do not have the same, I would say, not work ethic, but I would say they do not have the same rigorous mindset. Okay, so when we were in hotel management and when we were students, we will still do what we were asked to do. But today, I don't think that is a possibility. One has to reason and make them understand that why this is important. Otherwise, the youngsters today are not fighting for jobs, are not fighting for careers. Okay, they are fighting for a purpose. They want to find a certain level of purpose and they want to justify why are they doing this and where is this going to lead them to. Okay. And yes, money comes second. So money is important for everyone. So as soon as they see another better opportunity which pays them higher, they are ready to jump. And I'm not saying that this is something which is pretty much on the board, across the board, but you have a significant set of people who see money as a major motivator to change jobs, to switch. And speaking of human competencies, I think empathy, compassion, these are important virtues which one needs to work on. Never give up attitude. That is very important in hotel management. I mean, you could be having a tough day or a set of tough days, but you got to keep going in. If you have decided that this is what you want to become and this is what you want to ace, then irrespective of whatever goes on in life, for the short term or the medium term, you have to keep at it. Okay, so it's like, you are an Olympic athlete. So you cannot give up unless you have reached that level, you've accomplished that medal. So you got to work with that, this thing. Then I will speak of 5 important virtues which are very important working in hotels. I think in the entire industry, irrespective of whichever discipline you are in, that's passion, intensity, excellence. So these are the first 3. Okay, you need to be very, very passionate. You need to have the right intensity to match that passion. Okay, and you got to work with a mindset of excellence. And along with these 3, if you have a very clear mindset that these are the 3 virtues with which you are going to work, I think integrity becomes very important because I mean you've got to be very, very mindful of your actions. Not everybody will be there to supervise you all the time. So integrity has to be in place because if you lose that, then I mean there is no other way to earn it back. And lastly, I think intent. Intent is very important. So understanding what is intent and what is the right intent, that is very, very critical. So all these 5 coming together will shape a individual into a fine hotel manager. In terms of other aspects which I would want to focus on is sustainability. I think hospitality educational institutions need to focus big time on educating the youth on sustainability aspects. Hotel companies such as ITC, Mahindra Holidays, and even at the Postcard Hotel, we are very mindful of sustainable practices. So at the Postcard Hotel, the company has gone above and beyond, and we are looking to build hotels with owners which are not only sustainable from an operational practice standpoint, but even from a development standpoint. So we want to source locally, we want to reduce manufacture, we want to ensure that yet the product has a higher life cycle. So that is very, very important. We cannot be importing Italian marble or imported stone from other parts of the world just because we want to make the hotel look very fancy. So that's not it. I think so. The company has their heart in the right place, and hence this is very critical. So hospitality education ecosystem has to take sustainability very, very seriously. And the third aspect which one needs to focus on, I mean, both educational institutions and individuals, is hotel design, operations planning, facilities management, project management. Because as the industry goes through an upcycle where you will see a lot of hotel development happening, we got to have professionals who are at the confluence of understanding operations as well as to be able to help the design team, the execution team with project management and final execution. So it may seem far-fetched that we are hotel management students, but I think in today's day and age with AI and knowledge becoming so increasingly available, easily available, I think everything can be learned. So my conclusion over here would be that the focus of educational institutions has to be more towards direction than just being knowledge providers. Because knowledge is becoming more like a commodity right now across the globe. There is nothing which is not available on YouTube or on any other web portal. We have AI platforms which answer many of the questions. So it's just about finding your right intent and being curious. I think being curious is very, very critical. So that's from my side, speaking of key skills, competencies, vision, which is very, very critical.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karan. This is a beautiful list that you've shared with our students. And I think it's not just true for students, it's also true for any professional in any field, rather, and something that you've spoken about will go a long way, especially the part where you spoke about having a vision. I think that is something which is very seriously lacking, or something that, students don't really pay much attention to. And like you said, guidance is crucial, aspect of the hotel management education aspect. You touched upon sustainability, and I will take that question with Dr. Banerjee. So, Dr. Banerjee, this whole change that we are going through as a hotel and hospitality industry, Karan spoke about it in his, inputs of what kind of orientation students should have, mindset, attitude that they should be having. The hotel and hospitality sector, as we are seeing and witnessing today, is going through humongous changes, whether it is integration of increased technology, sustainability, inclusivity, ecotourism, all sorts of changes that are happening, and very, very fast-paced changes. Keeping these in mind, how do you think hotel management institutions, educational institutions, should adapt and change and revise their curriculum to match this change? What would you suggest on that aspect?
Thank you very much. Namaskar, namaste to everybody. Meghla, I guess I'm audible properly or not?
Yes, sir, audible.
Okay. So I continue for 9 minutes, as you have said. I'll try to limit within 9 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Well, the issue is the three questions that are there. I was thinking about it, and the point that you have just now mentioned, meaning what should be the direction which you or one should recommend to the academic institutions, particularly in this field of hospitality and hotel management. I guess it's not a just specific issue. It's a part of the generic issue that we are facing now in the field of education, learning and grooming in the world, almost it covers all areas of our understanding, learning, and grooming. Well, for hospitality and hotel management, there are new scenarios which have actually evolved. Now, if you look at the technology and the kind of support the technologies are offering at the places of these kind of services, whether you call it hotel, restaurant, or any other any description of any description or resort or any kind of thing, people are looking for something in mind which would make them a kind of peace of mind, because now the world is strongly disturbed. Not really now. I see this as a pattern from Second World War, end of that period onwards, with a varying degree of changes. There are a lot of scattered things happening, disruptions happening, and a lot of problems which are coming out, undefined kind of problems and issues. And the individuals are also facing those kind of issues. For example, now people mostly are not really very happy with their lives. Now, happiness has become a constraint by the living standard or the social structure or the kind of life one is constrained to live or something. Meaning, and when someone is there in a pleasure trip somewhere in the world, some part of the world, maybe for a short while, maybe for a couple of days, maybe for a few days, the person would like to have some kind of, it's not a kind of bombing of the mind, it's right, like, resting the mind into a piece of heavenly kind of thing. Now, if that is needed, then we need to look at the fundamentals. And I consider that as a issue which has to have a connect with the fundamentals. And from that point of view, I'll answer your three questions with three just small terms, maybe three, words. The first response to the first question that you have mentioned is, I say that you need to look for Paramartham. The question that you have raised, my answer is Ekatmam. I'm going to explain. The third question that you have mentioned is, I'm going to mention is Vishwa Pranaha. So, Paramartham, what is that? As Mr. Karan has very nicely put about the vision, the perspective of vision. I call it a philosophy of life. Every life lived must have and has a philosophy. As Swami Vivekananda had once mentioned in America, that India, where does it stand out in the world as a country, as a nation? Because if you go to even remote villages, the hilly regions or tribal regions or forest region, anywhere in the country, any corner of the country, or in the urban areas, in high-rise buildings, you will find a person residing there is to herself or to himself is a philosopher. Some kind of philosophical understanding is there in the mind of the person. And this, I guess, is there an element of this everywhere in the world. Humankind has got that kind of philosophical bent of mind. Like at certain point of time, the person would like to identify, why am I here on this earth and what are my purpose? So if I have to coin the purpose in specific objective terms, then the purpose could have, something related to my functional objectives, meaning how do I work, what could be the work, facilities, what are those things. Now, where does the factors of your pleasure comes, factors of your for peace comes, this becomes a question. Now, there was a discussion in European literature during the European Renaissance. The discussion was, what would be the transcending parameter of your, life, transcendence in life, if you want to have So what are the parameters? Then there was a response, and that is awarded the Nobel Prize. The first one, you need to have the purposeful free thinking. The free thinking requires a condition of contextual background. Now, suppose you are sitting in a resort which is by the side of a sea, secluded from the world, and consciously you are not carrying your mobile there, and so you are just now single individual on the lap of the Mother Earth, and now you are there back to your own root, and when you are back to your root, now go deep inside your mind, you'll find you are at peace, poise. Now, this poise is something which you have earned in a few hours, but then that you can have an immense power, immense value, which can feed you in terms of your mental happiness for a longer period, maybe years. So this is one of the things where you are back to your root, meaning fundamentals. The second point is in ancient Indian parlance, during the Vedic period in India, the sages used to consider the prana, the food, is and composing element of the prana, meaning this vital that we are having, is actually annaha brahman, meaning the food that we take is not just food, something external, is but something which is maintaining my vital and making my vital happen and exist and grow. Now if that vital is there in place, then that vital can be can manifest. How does it manifest? Through my happiness, through my pleasure. Now if a person can earn an happiness and pleasure from a place, that place is a heaven to the person. The person would like to go there. Hmm. I do travel a lot, meaning personally, and some of my colleagues are close colleagues are there, Dr. Saha, and so and then I find there are places where you find some kind of peace. I'm in the habit of writing always, so I find that okay. Yeah, a few days ago we were there in London in one of the places. I was so comfortable in that place. I find, oh God, it's a nice place to continue. So, kind of mental happiness that you earn, it's not just food. You are taking a small quantity of something or this and that, and automatically the balanced food comes to you automatically, because these days you don't find everywhere you find that some kind of balanced food are there, or your physical system won't agree to take. So then you will not take. So whatever is being offered, let it be offered. But then you are not going to take. So your vital is your conscious choice. The kind of food, the range of food, the items of food, the qualities of food that you are actually. So if I'm a provider of the service, what will be my objective? My objective is the Vishwa Prana. I'm actually serving the art system. I'm actually serving the global system. And an individual who comes to me is a representative of my Mother Earth. So I am actually serving my a representation of my mother. And there I have to be dedicated. I need to be honest. I need to be, a person with full of integrity. I need to be a person who has got a lot of, ethical and values concerned in that. And of course, I need to have an objective, the purpose of doing good to everyone. So every bit of my service, every bit of my activity is actually contributing to the well-being of the world. So when we say Sarve Bhavantu Sukhi Naha, Sarve Santu Niramayaha. So when we are talking about the Sukhi Naha, that the person who is actually, if you yourself is cooking, then you are actually cooking that happiness. If you are serving, you're actually serving that happiness. If you are maintaining the room, you are actually creating the happiness. You are actually, augmenting the power of happiness, the power of peace, and the power of poise. And that's why I find this is a profession which is not only a noble profession, but also a profession which can actually transform the world. The world of illness can be transformed to a world of happiness. That's my primary input. Any question? I'm here to, respond if you allow.
Sure, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My next question is again to Mr. Kapoor. Kapoor,
Yes, ma'am.
again, a very interesting question that has been emerging, in our community of students, faculty, industry. Like I was talking to Sir about the kind of dynamic changes that are happening in the industry, and as you already are aware, because you are yourself experiencing those changes, we spoke briefly about sustainability, and then there is the aspect of inclusivity, then there is the aspect of also very increased integration of technology taking place even in hotel and hospitality sector now. Now, keeping all of these things in mind, what, according to you, are the top 3 trends that you foresee, in the hotel management education industry sector, which you would like to talk about? Because this input will also inspire and, guide the current batch of hotel management students and probably, widen their vision of how they can look at various career paths.
All right. So thank you so much, ma'am. This indeed is a very large question. I mean, it is very difficult to encapsulate trends, because there are so many things which are happening, as you rightly pointed out. But I'm going to focus on 3 trends, and these 3 trends are, again, these are based on my experiences and my observation. Okay, so I've studied at IHM Aurangabad, which is affiliated to University of Huddersfield. And over there, one of the major defining factors for change, okay, was the mentor-mentee program. All right. So the mentor-mentee program actually, the whole idea originated from the point of view that the seniors should be able to help the juniors. Okay. Now, I would like to take this a step further, and I would like to encourage institutions partner with industry professionals. And let's say a discipline head or a food and beverage manager in a particular hotel should be a mentor to at least 10 students. Now, those 10 students could be from different IHMs, different institutions. So we got to have a real life industry leader mentoring students, okay, through their journey, because that mentor-mentee connect will also streamline their vision, give them direction. So you will have academic as well as industry-led direction happening. This is something which even ESSEC Business School does on a regular basis. So they organize industry leader conferences where industry leaders are invited to the school, and they have a one-on-one connect, and they speak about their organizations and how the industry is evolving, and they help them answer questions for specific disciplines. I think that is a very good practice. So I think a combination of both these is very, very critical to address, to address the need, the gap. Okay. So many people talk about that there is a huge gap between academy and industry. I think this can be the perfect way. The second trend or the second idea which I would like to propose in this forum is apprentissage programs. So in France, I think they have a beautiful way of helping students who do not have sufficient capital or whose parents do not have sufficient capital to introduce this apprentissage program. So basically what happens is that the company selects you when you are accepted in a business school or in an educational institution, and they offer you work for 3 days in a week. And 2 days you spend in school, okay, whether it be at an undergrad level or at a master's level, and you have your weekend to yourself to complete all your assignments. So it's a hybrid sort of approach. So 3 days which they are spending in the organization, they are helping the organization with their tasks and what they would want to achieve. At the same time, the person is learning firsthand from the industry as well as academia as to how things have to go by and what is the basic direction they need to follow. So this helps students on 2 fronts, on multiple fronts actually. One is that it takes care of their educational expenses because the company sponsors the entire tuition fee. I'm not sure how practical it will be in the context of India, but this is something which is very critical. We could look at it from a smaller set. We could look at scholarship-based apprentissage programs, or how we are able to devise that is something which I think I will leave it to the educational institutions. But This is something which can truly fill the gap, address the gap. Third is students should really focus on working in small hotels. And I'll tell you the reason why. Okay. In smaller hotels, you will be exposed to different departments. So cross-functional department exposure will make you a much better professional, hospitality professional, because at the end of it, you should be aspiring to become a hotel manager. A hotel manager is not just a general manager wearing a business suit and meeting guests and having a cup of coffee, every day in the hotel, or, spending time with HODs. A hotel manager today is responsible for every aspect of the hotel. So it's not just about managing guest experiences, but it is also about being responsible for owner relations. It is also about being responsible for overall upkeep and maintenance of the hotel. So the hotel manager or the general manager has to be a well-rounded professional. So if you were to choose a career path, you should choose to begin by working with small hotels, because small hotels are all about excellence. Small hotels are all about quality. And today, consumers value quality than mediocrity. So there can be many hotels with large rooms, large inventories, okay? And they could be prevalent all over the country. But at the heart of it, what seems to be happening over there is mediocrity, because they just want to get the job done and they want to get going. So they need hands who can just do the job, and the overall development, the overall growth of the organization gets stunted somewhere down the line. So I think if people are very focused and people are very serious about making a career in hotels, then they should start to begin their career by working in small hotels. That's my point of view for the top 3 trends.
Thank you, Karan. I think this particular input that you're talking about comes really something from your own experience. And I think it's a huge takeaway for the students who are watching this today, because everybody is after, branded organizations and very big profiles, and, all looks very glamorous. But at the end of the day, like you said, the cross-functionality aspect, the fact that they're getting exposed to so many other things which was not possible in a large organization, is something that they should definitely consider while looking at various opportunities. I think that's a very, very, very important input that we also feel, and we keep giving to students, not just in hotel management but in other sectors also. Even if we talk about the postcard hotels journey, you will of course be agreeing with me that their journey is more of an entrepreneurial journey in terms of how they've been looking at the development of hotels. So maybe you could also talk a little bit about that, because development of hotel is a sector which students don't really understand as of now when they look at career paths. So if you could talk about that as well a little bit.
Sure, Dr. Sinha. So when I said smaller hotels, I didn't mean unbranded and unorganized segment, because that is totally unstructured and students may not benefit by working in independent standalone hotels unless those are award-winning hotels. Speaking of award-winning hotels, the Postcard Hotel is proud to share that we won world's leading emerging boutique hotel brand for 2 years in a row, in 2023 and 2024. This year we won the award at Madeira, Portugal. We have also won awards in several categories. So Postcard Gir Wildlife Sanctuary was recognized as India's leading wildlife lodge. So I think what the drive home point which I'm trying to make over here to all the students is that you've got to look at, you first need to break it down. What is your vision? What do you want to do in life? And then look at how you would want to streamline yourself. You got to have at least 2 to 3 mentors. I'm not saying that you will have 2, 3 mentors in one go. You're still young. So focus on the basics, because that's very important. Yes, they are repetitive, and it can be very irritating that, why are you wiping the glasses again and again, or why are you serving the tables, and why are guests behaving in a certain way? This is all part of the entire process to groom you as an accomplished hotelier. So this is something which you need to accept. I think acceptance is key. because as a hotel manager or in the field of discipline, which I will talk about, the single most important virtue over here is patience. Okay, so you've got to be very, very patient. You've got to be able to listen to people, understand their point of view, and then go about, doing your job. Because you can really, I would say, shift the gears depending on the situation and address their needs. So as Sir pointed out on various different aspects, and out of which he mentioned that happiness is something which people are seeking at the end of the day. So I think you can only deliver happiness once you understand the person, if you understand their needs, if you understand their pain points, and that you will only learn from operations. So I am, in a way, against the idea of people jumping right into hotel development without having the operations experience, because you will truly never understand the rigor of hotel operations, the guest, how to manage guest experiences, and be able to justify when you are talking about a deal. So in hotel development, what we are essentially doing is we are deal makers. So when you are speaking of being a deal maker, you need to know how hotels function in and out. Point number one. So because you will meet people who are entering hotels for the first time. They don't know hotels, they don't know operations, they don't know what is important, what is critical, what is a priority, what is not a priority. They can always get confused and prioritize everything which is important. So you've got to be able to differentiate that. So you can have 10 important things, but you need to have your priority set. And that you can only do over a period of time once you work with your leaders, closely with them, understand how and in which direction the company wants to go, right? So development as a profession is a mix of, I would say, analytical abilities. You've got to be able to understand hotel markets, how the markets are evolving. You've got to know the right set of players. So it is a lot of strategic thinking, a lot of analytical abilities come into play. You've got to be a good salesman too. So as a salesman, the first rule is to listen and to understand the need, address that gap, and then move on further about it. You can't be carrying a billboard everywhere that, this is what I'm here to do. It will not work. So you've got to be very mindful of that. Third is that unless you do not know the entire brandscape in the entire industry, you will never be able to differentiate yourself, even as an individual. So I think that is also very, very critical as a hotel development professional. So these are three things which you should focus on in the initial bit, okay? As a development professional, you've got to look at how you can prospect, number one. So in an entire development cycle, there are 4 stages. One is prospecting. So how are you going to go in the market and find those deals, find those people who want to develop hotels? Okay. Second is evaluation. So that is where analytical abilities come into play. And you say that, okay, you know what? Why should I do this hotel? Or why should I sign this deal with this particular owner or this developer? Okay. Once you're through with that, then comes the entire process of project management. Okay. So while the deal is signed, the contract is signed, and you go on further about, how the designers have to be appointed, project management consultants have to be appointed for doing all the work on the site. You've got to be able to handhold the owner at that point in time. Okay. And you get involved in the entire project development process. And the fourth is owner relations. Okay. So every time an owner gets up and says that, I feel this is not right, you got to know that situation and share with your experience what is really happening. Okay. And why things are happening in a certain way. Because hotels are so dynamic that every day is a very unique day. So you could have 10 things going right on day 1, but you could have only 8 things going right on day 2 or day 3. For those 2 things, you got to have that experience to be able to reason and explain it to them. So development at the face of it, while many may feel that it is just a sales job or it's just about signing contracts, I look at development in a very, very different way. And that's the way we go about doing development at the Postcard Hotel. So it's a very critical function, very demanding function, but you've got to cover your basics first. You got to understand hotel as an industry, hotel industry. You got to understand the players in the market, and then consider thinking of getting into development. So two fields or two disciplines which are going to take shape in the after 10 years or in the next 10 years is pre-opening, hotel pre-opening. I think that's very, very important because the way hotel companies are signing hotels left, right, and center across different position brands, I think they will be in requirement of people who can get involved in hotel pre-opening. And I think that will be an amazing opportunity for all youngsters because that is where a lot of cross-functional skills will get developed. But you've got to be ready. You cannot say that why am I working 18 hours or why am I missing my New Year's or festival? You've got to be able to sacrifice that. I think this is where our ancient philosophy comes into play, where people were very clear that if they have to achieve something, they've got to be willing to make sacrifices. So when you are building your career, you are only building your career. Okay. You got to think like an Olympian. Okay. That the only thing which you're set out to do is to win that medal. And winning a medal in hotel industry is accomplishing and understanding that role, that position, and in and out completely. It's not a position. So please get that in mind. Whenever I write, and I wish everybody when they take on a new role, I share with them that this is a responsibility. So you've got to take it as a responsibility. You're accountable for it. So you've got to justify it day in and day out. So you've got to win. You've got to work with that kind of mindset, a winner's mindset, a person who's responsible and accountable. And speaking of which, I think the last bit is asset management. I think only once you've understood the entire hotel, how it works, from a guest experience point of view and how the costs work and how are you able to manage it, then only you can get into, entering the field of asset management, hotel asset management. So there is an organization, global organization known as Hotel Asset Managers Association, and it mandates for any asset manager to spend at least 3 to 5 years doing asset management. And before you get accepted by any company to do asset management for them, they will look at your resume, they will look at your experience and see how much time have you spent in operations. Do you have good knowledge of reservations? Do you have good knowledge of revenue management, food and beverage operations? So you got to know your basics. You got to know your department in and out. It's not just about guest experience in operations. You got to know your operations from every aspect. And if you don't know, ask questions. You can trouble your department heads with as many questions as possible because that will reflect curiosity. That will not be looked at differently. If somebody does, then move away from that person and ask somebody else. But you should not stop asking questions. You should not be afraid from, clearing your doubts. So many a time students feel that, they feel inhibited. Oh, if I ask what if he or she responds in a different manner? I think those inhibitions you need to leave out because you cannot be an introvert in hotel industry. You've got to be able to change that. So that is my opinion on the three trends or the three dynamics, how things are going to shape up hospitality industry, not just in India, but globally.
Awesome list. And I think, very grounded tips. They're not just tips, which are being shared from, a theory or something that is supposed to be just implemented and not really thought through. I think these are coming really from your heart and from your experience of being a professional. And this will, I can't even begin to tell you how much this will benefit students who are watching this today. Dr. Banerjee, my next very important question to you. We talked about emotional intelligence. Karan spoke about it. He talked about the aspect of, having a very strong leadership as well. And of course, we also talk about for the students to have a very strong cultural sensitivity when they're, doing hotel management education or pursuing it as a profession. Now, there are two aspects to this question that I'd like to ask you. The first being that, in today's scenario, we are looking at, um, an era where students are feeling less motivated to join hotel management institutions and take it up as a very serious professional career. That's number one. So how do we motivate students to do so? How can we really, encourage them to join this sector and, work on that? And Karan gave so many tips today as to how they should have the right mindset, the right skill set, the right vision, the right approach when they're doing so. But the first step is to encouraging them to even join this, education course, and then from that, point of view, then continue to pursue their profession. So that is the first part to my question to you, that how can we encourage more students to join hotel management education institutions to pursue this as a career? And the second part of this question is, why after they've joined, what would your advice be to educational institutions for hotel management in terms of inculcating leadership, emotional intelligence, cultural sensitivity? If you could tell us these ideas on these two aspects.
Okay. Thank you. I guess time is almost coming to an end. Yeah, but then I'll try to quickly, respond to your points. May I take a few seconds time to share a screen with one slide?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, absolutely. And it's okay. We can go up to another 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Not a problem.
Yeah, make it. Yeah. Can you see this? There are three things are written here.
Yes, sir.
As I've already mentioned, Paramartham, Ekatmam, Prana, Vishwa Prana. Now, when we talk about any stream of learning, hospitality and hotel management is one stream of learning. I'm taking from that perspective. Because, after the person is properly learned in that, the person is getting into the field of work. When a person comes to the field of work, by the time person should have some experience earned and gathered through the internship or some kind of hands-on, some on the job kind of thing. And so you see the fundamentals in the mind that should attract a person. I'll tell you, 1950s middle and 1960s until the later half of 60s, the management was ridiculed by as a stream. Business management as a stream of learning was actually ridiculed by some of the leading US universities and rejected by saying that it is not a proper discipline of learning. Of course, 70s onwards, there was no, question on that, and it, geared up and it became one of the most leading in the world. Now, this similar kind of thing, you need to have an elevating dimension, a transcending dimension to attract the noble minds or the minds which are which are considered or rated by the society as the better minds. So they once they are here, you'll find the profession is no longer just nitty-gritties of the profession. You need to make the profession, is such that it goes outside, beyond, elevated, transformed, transcended from the nitty-gritties of the profession. When it comes to the nitty-gritties of the profession, it's there in the classroom, in the laboratory, in the lab kitchen, and there you can do this. The orientation is a matter of philosophy. The orientation, and that is where is the pull. Now, until the management becomes a noble area of learning, management did not have the flood of people coming from all over the world. Now, flood of people came when that it becomes it's not only something to fill in your purse, but it's also giving you that blessed life which otherwise you can't get. So when this as a faith is instilled in the mind of people, be it the guardians, the parents or the, youngsters, those who are in the school level, while they learn at the school level, they nurture the idea that somewhere this is happening and this is something which can pull me higher than others. So there you are actually placed, for example, when you are doing Paramartham, it looks like somebody is there in a monastery and doing a meditation. You are actually doing that. While you are into the work, you are serving to a client, and the client, now client is a representation of your God, and you're serving the client. And ikatmam, meaning I'm acceptable when the other side, the client considers that, oh yes, this person is someone which I have developed some kind of equation or some kind of commonness somewhere, on some parameters. Or maybe you can be compassionate. You can look at from the compassionate view, but compassionate is a differentiating. But it's a non-compassion, equalization. When equalization comes, then ikatmam, meaning you are on par on at least one parameter, and in that parameter and through that parameter, you have an inroad in the mind of the other side. And then if you have got the faith that you are actually doing something which is actually helping the world to grow and to sustain, then actually you are a person who is not doing for your selfish gain alone. Yes, of course, your pockets, your purse, your fame, your social position, your esteem in family and known people, unknown people everywhere. It's a matter of concern for you. But then go beyond that. When you go beyond that, you become an element of the art system, the global system, and you are actually sustaining that. So sustainability is an automatic intake and automatic, sustained point in your paradigm of things. So this is what I believe that has to be there. In our place here at EILM Kolkata, we are trying to, positioning Paro Madam is, you might be knowing Paro Madam. She is there with us, and she's an excellent professor, a very senior person, and she has got, everything there, but she's philosophically oriented. So when we gave it a start, with your support, Dr. Sinha, and then what we had designed of, we said that we'll have a differential positioning, and that's what is. It could be small, but I see a day when the students will have the not only the top positions, but will have their differential fame, a different kind of fame, different kind of acceptability in the global system. And that happens when you have the transcending dimension in yourself. So my suggestion, if at all it is to be hard or considered at any level, that, let's put ourselves on a global, on a universal, on a cosmic parameter where I'm not doing a small thing. I'm doing something which is actually sustaining my world, my mother earth, my system, and myself also. Thank you. After this is mine. So I'm closing my window of this, one page, the slide.
So thank you, Dr. Banerjee. I think these are some very interesting thoughts there. There are some aspects which I would like to draw upon. So, sir, I think what we also need to focus on is a collectivist mindset. I think in educational institutions, what has been a cause of concern is the entire ranking system. I think students get ranked on account of only academic abilities. Okay, so not everyone will have super academic abilities. Let us accept that as a matter of fact. Okay, if we are to achieve what you spoke of, the grand vision of how we are contributing to the entire ecosystem and the global sort of role which everybody will play, I think first thing which we need to accept or which we need to start practicing is to have a collectivist mindset. Every professor, every teacher needs to be more of a friend and share with students that, it's all right. I mean, everyone has qualities, everybody has certain strengths and certain weaknesses. So this is something which our institution, I mean, I will keep on resonating to my alma mater, IHM Aurangabad. And by the way, Dr. Parvardhini was there when I was a student. So Paro ma'am, Dr. Jairam, Dr. Maloy Viswas, Dr. Anand Iyengar, Mr. Roshad Kavina, the likes of all our faculty members, they were champions of this. So they were more, they were teachers. They were our teachers. We were, of course, very respectful and very this thing about the position they held and the reverence which we had for them as teachers. But they were never very, I would say, to put it in simple terms, they were friendly. They were approachable. There was an open door policy. And there was no differentiation done on the basis of that this is a first ranker or this is a second ranker and this is a third ranker. I think when we at an industry-wide level are looking at talent, the industry also should be mindful of the fact that, okay, this institution is ranked number 1 by so-and-so and this institution is ranked so-and-so. Because at the end of it, it is talent. And we've got to be able to nurture talent, groom them, shape them. But at the same time, it is also the responsibility of the students to have the right mindset and the attitude. Because if people and industry are going to open up, they've got to be able to willing to accept. And acceptance is going to be a major, major key. Second point, sir, which I would like to add on is that the whole proposition of, attracting students by the idea that hotels are a very glamorous industry, I think that is something which is a thing of a past. It's a thing of a past. I think what we need to proposition or the way we need to position hotel management education is that this is one discipline where you get to learn how to build an entire business. So amongst the emerging career paths or roles, one thing which I sort of noted down was that entrepreneurship is big right now. Okay, people may underestimate it, but every young professional out there aspires to become an entrepreneur. Okay, unfortunately, there is a Shark Tank culture. Okay, so Shark Tank has its set of positives, but it also has its set of negatives. But before we get into that, I think at the heart of it, institutions need to share with aspiring students in schools that if you've got to learn how to build a business, you got to know hotel management because you get to do everything. So if we were to plot out all different responsibilities on a business canvas model, you will see that hotel industry is the only industry which is able to shape and groom people to be able to build an entire business. It's just how we look at it. So if you can look at things differently, okay, I think you will see how hotel management curriculum or culinary management curriculum shapes an individual to become an entrepreneur. So that is my 2 suggestions over here, sir, for everyone and for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's very interesting, Mr. Karan, from your side, because you are practicing. That's more important when, the thoughts, get down to, it's said, our Vedas mentioned that when it comes to our, there is a Pancha Gyanendriya and Panch Karmendriya. When from Gyanendriya to Karmendriya it comes, meaning when you are getting into the actions of that based on the philosophies and understanding of the mind, then you are actually helping the transcendence as a process for others and everybody. So that's what I appreciate, that, yes, I find the root there. Paru Madam was also there among others, and you are mentioning, I feel so good that, a person who has achieved and a person who has himself, you have created something which is notable. And you were mentioning your teacher, the names of your teachers so squarely. I'm a teacher, so it's so delighting things to me. A person like this, I appreciate you. You're a young person. I wish that you grow so big. And I wish your suggestions get down to the minds of younger people and, they pick up points from this. So thank you so much. I'm really very happy being here. Meghla Madam, I have some work, so can I, if you permit, or else another minute if you want to close.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Banerjee.
Hit the time limit, but this was such an interesting discussion that I think we could have just gone on and on. But due to paucity of time, we will stop here. And I can't thank both of you enough. We've got to do a part 2 of this series because there's so many other questions that have been posted on our chat box. And some students also shared some questions with us while the webinar was going on. So we must connect again. And thank you so much. This has been an extremely enriching session. Thank you. Thank you so much once again.
So thank you so
Mr.
much.
Madam, and
Thank you.
thank you, and thanks to your entire team. And Mr. Karan, very special thanks to you. I'm
No,
so
sir,
much
please,
delighted
please.
getting introduced to you. I'm
Sir,
really delighted getting introduced to a person who remembers his teachers. This is
Sir, on
something
a,
which is a missing commodity in the world. And
sir,
the
so
person who remembers his parents and teachers, the person is destined to grow. God has designed the world in such a way.
thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words, sir. During the beginning of the session, I mentioned that each individual is the sum of all the people and experiences that person, goes through in life. So I am deeply grateful to all my teachers, my mentors, my bosses. So whether it be my general manager, Miss Ranjuja Alex, who leads Marriott International today, or the likes of Mr. Dinesh Rai, who's the head of Crown Plaza in Kochi. My teachers, my bosses, all my bosses, Mr. Achin Khanna at Hotel Elevate, Mr. Kapil Chopra. I think he's a phenomenal person, and I learn from him every day. And this whole philosophy of collectivist mindset and talent mapping comes from there. So he is of the very firm view that every person holds immense potential, and it is only about just tapping them and finding that right direction for them to be able to help them grow. So I think based on all my experiences and all the people who I've worked with, people who I've learned from, because personally I never look at my boss as a boss. I look at my boss also as someone who's my mentor, who's my leader, who I'm learning from. And I think this is something which has sort of kept me driven and kept me going all along. So I'm grateful to all of them, and I'm grateful to all of you for for giving me this opportunity and this platform to share my point of view with everyone. And my advice to all of you is that as I have tried to present my views and shared my experiences with all of you with the intent of helping all of you. I hope and wish that all of you become future industry leaders and help the next generation. Okay, so we should always work with a mindset of passing on the baton and helping young professionals and our peers as much as we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we
Thank-
continue this series again. Thank you. Thanks a lot.